So who would have thought 2 Battlefront videos in 2 days? I actually can't believe that there is some relevant stuff to talk about with this game. It feels honestly so good to be back making Battlefront content, albeit it'll be short-lived. I'm not that naive. It's going to die off at some point eventually, but while it's here, while Battlefront is relevant again, I'm definitely going to be jumping on and just having a bit of fun with the Battlefront community again. And we've got some pretty, I don't want to say exciting, or I wouldn't even say news. It's not even news. It's just a discussion on the subreddit. But it is pretty exciting to see. And I'm going to run you guys through all of that and just sort of update you guys. I'm going to continue to do this. I'm going to do some regular sort of Battlefront content as well. But if we do get any little tidbits or any like records get broken or there's any interesting, speculation out there and stuff, I'm going to try to keep you guys updated on essentially everything going on within the Battlefront community. And that is essentially what we're going to be doing today. So getting straight into it, as you can see here, we have a post which, might I add, this actual meme that really isn't what we're talking about today, but this meme is 10 out of 10. Absolutely phenomenal meme. If you guys have seen Andor, which I'm going to assume everyone has, if you haven't, what the hell are you doing? Go and watch it. But this is probably one of the funniest moments in the whole show. So to get this crossed over with a Battlefront meme is very, very fun to see. Now, someone posted this, and then obviously in here it says Battlefront 2 devs saying they'd return as one of the sort of reasons. And someone replied saying what Battlefront 2 dev said they'd come back. Now, this is where our friend Mats Helga, who is a former producer, a live producer on Battlefront 2, so he essentially worked on the live service for the game. He's no longer at EA and DICE anymore, but he was obviously back when Battlefront 2 was being supported. He came along and said, me, and having heard around my group of ex-colleagues, we want to get the gang back together. So I'm not going to lie to you guys, when I read that, I genuinely got chills. I was like, damn, they've actually, all these guys have been talking about this, and seemingly a lot of them are saying they would love to get the gang back together. Now, obviously without any context, it's hard to tell how many people this is. He says a group of my ex-colleagues. It could be like 2 of his former colleagues that worked there, and they've said, yeah, we'd love to go back. But it could also be a big, large chunk of them. We have no idea. So without context, it's kind of hard to tell how, I guess, important that bit of information is. But regardless, it is just, to me, it's just really cool that they're actually seeing all of this stuff and, sending messages to each other saying like, damn, it would be fun to get back together. That alone is just so exciting to me, even if it never happens, which I'll be completely honest, guys, I'm not going to try and like milk this or anything. This doesn't mean this is going to happen. And I still am going to be fairly shocked if this does happen, or at least any time remotely soon. If this game ever was to come out, it would be like 5 years from now. So I'm trying not to be too naive and get too excited about it. But honestly, man, it's hard. It is so hard to see ex-developers saying stuff like this and not be like, damn, boys, there's a bit of a chance here if we keep pushing. So that is essentially the main crux of what I wanted to talk about today. Now, there is also another post here on Reddit from Mats, who has actually a pretty good, I guess, idea for how they could make Battlefront 3, which I will get to in a second as well. But yeah, this part is, it's honestly very, very exciting to see. And I would love to hear in, the coming days or weeks, some more context behind this in terms of how many people he's actually spoken to and whether or not there's any actual chance that this would happen. Now, again, to kind of play devil's advocate to not get us all too excited about this, he also left a comment on another post that says, original dev team will be difficult. We are spread far and wide. And then someone said, is there any way to make it happen? And he said, no idea. So again, it's not like he's saying, oh man, this is going to happen. He's saying they would like to, whether it can happen or not, he's not too sure. So I just wanted to put that in there as well, because I think it's very easy to get overly excited about this stuff. And as a creator, that can often come across as like clickbaiting you guys, saying, oh my God, they're making Battlefront 3. That's not what's happening here, but it is still very exciting to see nonetheless. Something else I found really interesting was that I wouldn't say confirmed it, but he very much implied it is possible. There was a tweet from Azatru who said, a trusted source has told me, I don't know what the hell the quality of this is, like someone screenshot it on a fucking potato, but it says, a trusted source has told me Battlefront 2 reached 164,000 concurrent players yesterday. That is the highest peak since December 2020, which I talked about that, I think, yesterday in the first Battlefront video. But he then replied to this and he said, my take on this number is plausible. It's easy for almost any EA employee ways to get this. There are open DevOps dashboards that track player numbers, so all they need to do is find the right URL and to be on the network. The size is also about right. We hit those numbers during Celebration Edition, and episode 9 made us surpass Battlefield in many KPIs. I mostly remember our weekly unique players, but 166k daily is not impossible with the current hype market. So the fact that these sort of numbers are legitimately possible, people have been saying, oh, there's not that many people online, we're all inflating the numbers and it's not real. The fact that he's pretty much saying, no, that actually does sound like that's very much possible, that is also really exciting as well. To have 166,000 concurrent players for a game 8 years old with no updates in the last 5 years is borderline unheard of. I actually don't think I've ever really seen that, unless, you know, there might be games like, for example, like GTA or Red Dead Redemption, where I guess that's different because GTA gets updated. So yeah, that doesn't even count. But like, there are old games that still pop off, of course, but I feel like this is a very rare situation for this to be happening. And it's nice to get, again, it's not really confirmation, but it's, I guess, backing up what Azatru was saying, which I've seen multiple people saying this as well. It's not just one person. And I've seen all the numbers that are around that mark and they've kind of gone up daily. So they all seem legitimate. How legitimate they are, I'm not too sure, but it is good to get a little bit of backup here from an actual former developer. Now, lastly, I wanted to talk about his little plan for how they could actually go about doing this. And even the fact that he is speculating on this and sort of giving ideas, that to me almost points at the fact that like he surely is a little bit excited about this. And that's what I was talking about before with him and the other developers talking and saying they'd love to come back. It shows there is still clearly a bit of passion there and a bit of love for the franchise, which is definitely what we need. We as the players can only do so much, but if we get actual developers really interested in this and excited, then who knows, they may be able to try and pitch this to Lucasfilm Games or something. So that is definitely exciting to see as well. Now, there was this post here just saying me liking every Battlefront 3 post. I'm doing my part. But Matt's replied and he said, hear me out, no Battlefront 3 right now, but Battlefront 2 remaster for whatever future console is arriving in 2027 to 2028. Dev time is around 2 to 3 years. There is a laundry list of improvements that this game could get, in my opinion, and getting it updated was always on our wish list. Once that is a success, then start work on Battlefront 3. You have a team familiar with the engine, assets, and really could kick off developing a Battlefront 3 within a much shorter time span and working on feedback from a fresh Battlefront 2 audience base. This would be a 5 to 6 year plan, but it is far more likely to be a success. And there's part of me that is a little bit unsure about the whole remaster element to this. I don't necessarily know if that would change anything per se, but I also do agree with this that it may potentially end up being more successful, because if you do just go straight to a Battlefront 3 with no, I guess, like practice, it's been obviously a long time since they worked on Battlefront 2, that could lead to some issues where we all have so much excitement around the game and it might just launch busted again. It might have a bunch of areas that just aren't good enough and stuff like that. And so having the remaster of a Battlefront 2 to get the developers really used to the engine and all that sort of thing, and just get more hype and more feedback from the player base, that could then lead to a better game. So I'm a little bit torn on this idea. Now, obviously this guy knows 10 times more than I do about game development because he worked on Battlefront 2 and I did not. So me saying I don't know if I agree with it, that's probably just the dumbest sentence I've ever said, because who am I to know better than this guy? But I think it's just the fact that it's a remaster. If it was a remaster with, you know, a continuing live service where they remaster the game and then there's more content to come with it, then I would 100% agree with that. If it's straight up just a remaster but then there's still no live service, to me that almost would feel like wasted time that they could have just spent putting into Battlefront 3 instead. So that's sort of where I'm torn on it, but overall I still think it's a good idea, and obviously, like I said, he knows a lot more than me and all of us about game development, so I think it's definitely a very interesting plan. But that is it today for a little, like I said, a little update. It's not really news. I want to stay away from the word news, because really the only actual news we can get is essentially EA or DICE or Lucasfilm Games talking about this. I don't necessarily consider it news if one of the former devs is just giving his opinion. So I don't know what you'd call it, a little bit of a discussion update, I guess, but it is exciting to see nonetheless. And it shows that, like I said in yesterday's video, there's part of me that goes like, oh, it doesn't matter what we do, they're not going to make Battlefront 3. But there's also part of me that these numbers are pretty crazy. And the fact that we've now got former developers on Reddit talking about this, pretty much saying, as it says here, that, you know, He's spoken to a bunch of them and they want to get back together. Stuff like that is really good. Whether it actually leads to anything or not, that's a different story. But there have been instances like this in the gaming industry before, where there'll be sort of like rumors of a game, maybe an older game that is getting a remaster or getting a complete reboot, and a lot of developers who worked on like the originals and stuff 10, 15, 20 years later, they band back together and like either make their own studio or they go back to, you know, the original studio or whatever. I have seen instances of that in the past, and so again, I'm trying not to be too excited about this, but it's hard not to be excited when you hear stuff like this. But again, just take it all with a grain of salt until we get any sort of official confirmation. None of this stuff really matters, unfortunately. So anyway, that is going to do it for today's video, guys. There is going to be a lot more Battlefront content on the way. I've got a bit of a plan actually about how I would love to see Battlefront 3 made and what it would involve and stuff like that. That's going to be coming out soon. And then I'm also going to do just some like fun live commentary stuff. If you guys have anything you want to see as well, be sure to let me know down in the comment section. If you have any like challenges you want me to do, just a live commentary trying to complete a really hard challenge you guys have or something like that, let me know. The more Battlefront content that all of us creators can make, the more hype generated for the game. The more hype generated for the game, the longer this is all going to go on, and the more likely we're going to get a Battlefront 3. So leave your thoughts down in the comment section. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and may the force be with you always.